If you're a man over 60, listen closely because no one else is saying this out loud. The silent decline you're feeling. It's not just age, it's your health quietly slipping away. It's your marriage slowly cooling. It's your sense of purpose fading in the background. And the most dangerous part, you've been taught to ignore it, to tough it out. But silence is not strength. In fact, it's the very thing that's stealing the best years of your life. I'm Dr. James Ellison, a urologist and men's health expert with over 30 years of experience helping men just like you. I've sat across from thousands of husbands, fathers, veterans, and grandfathers, all looking for the same thing: to feel like themselves again, to feel alive, wanted, and connected, not just physically, but emotionally. And here's what might surprise you. The answers aren't complicated. Most men don't need a miracle. What they need is clarity and a plan. A plan built on real science. Not shame, one that doesn't just fix what's broken, but strengthens what matters most. Your body, your confidence, and your marriage. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 7 essential factors every man over 60 needs to know. These are the same strategies I use with my patients to restore their health, reignite their relationships, and extend not just their lifespan, but their joy in living it. And if you stick with me, you'll hear the one factor that's helped more men rebuild their connection with their wives than any pill I've ever prescribed. Before we get started, if you find this message meaningful, take a moment to subscribe and turn on notifications. That way you'll never miss future insights designed to help you feel stronger, live better, and love deeper. And if this video resonates with you, type 1 in the comments. If it doesn't, type 0. I read every response, and your feedback helps me serve you better. Now that we've set the stage, let's begin with the foundation. The one factor that quietly shapes how you feel every single day, but rarely gets talked about openly. It's not just about energy or drive or even desire. It's about identity. And for many men over 60, it's the missing piece they've been searching. And for without even knowing it, I'm talking about testosterone. The silent engine behind vitality, confidence, and connection. Let's take a closer look at why this one hormone could be the key to not just restoring your health, but reigniting the bond with the person who matters most. 1. Testosterone, the hormone of connection. I still remember one of my patients, Tom, a retired firefighter in his late 60s. He came into my office looking tired. Not just physically, but emotionally. He said, "Doc, I don't feel like myself anymore. I'm not sleeping."
Well, I've lost interest in everything, and my wife thinks I'm pulling away. That conversation stuck with me because it was honest, and sadly, it's one I've had with hundreds of men over the years. What Tom was describing wasn't just stress or age. It was the slow and steady decline of testosterone, the hormone that for men plays a critical role in energy, focus, drive, and emotional connection around the age of 30. Testosterone levels begin to dip, but after 60, the drop becomes more noticeable. You might feel it in your mood, your motivation, your ability to show up fully, not just in the bedroom, but in life. What most men don't realize is that low testosterone doesn't just affect their health, it affects their relationships. When you don't feel like yourself, it's hard to connect with your partner, to stay present, to express affection. It becomes easier to withdraw, to stay silent, to let distance grow where love used to live. But here's the good news. It's not irreversible today. We have safe, medically supervised ways to restore testosterone levels, and with them, restore the spark, not just sexually, but emotionally. When men feel strong again, when they feel seen and valued, everything starts to change. They laugh more, they initiate conversations, they hold their partner's hand again without even realizing it. Tom started therapy, made a few lifestyle changes, and began testosterone replacement. Within a few months, he told me something I'll never forget. "Doc, my wife said she feels like she has her husband back. That's the power of hormonal health. It reconnects you to who you are and who you love, but testosterone is just one piece of the puzzle. There's another factor most men overlook, yet it's quietly responsible for how you move, how you perform, and how you stay in control. Most men have never even heard of it, and that's exactly why it matters. If you're still here and this message is resonating with you, just type the number 1 in the comments. It lets me know you're with me on this journey. Now let's keep going and take a closer look at the next key that could change everything for you too: pelvic floor. Strength, your hidden power. When most men walk into my office, they expect to talk about testosterone, prostate health, maybe even medications. But when I bring up pelvic floor muscles, they look at me like I'm speaking a foreign language. I don't blame them. No one ever taught us this part of our body mattered. But I'll tell you right now, the pelvic floor is one of the most powerful yet most ignored keys to male vitality. I once treated a man named Walter, 72, a retired truck driver who had quietly been dealing with embarrassing leaks and occasional struggles with intimacy. He told me he started planning his day around restroom locations. It was affecting his confidence, his sense of independence, and his relationship with his wife. "I just don't feel like a man anymore," he said softly. Eyes on the floor that hit me hard, because no man should feel that way, especially when there's a solution that doesn't involve pills or surgery. The pelvic floor is a group of muscles that support the bladder, bowels, and yes, sexual function. When those muscles weaken, men experience urinary issues, reduce sexual performance, and even back pain. But when they're strong, men feel more in control of their body, their confidence, and their connection. The good news is it's never too late to start with guided exercises, often as simple as targeted contractions. A few minutes a day, men like Walter began to see changes after just a few months. He told me he could get through his daily walks without planning for restrooms. Even more, he and his wife were reconnecting in ways they hadn't in years. He stood taller, smiled more, and said something I'll never forget. "I feel like I've taken my life back." That's the kind of change that starts from the inside, literally. But strength isn't just about muscles. There's another system in your body that silently controls blood flow, stamina, and even intimacy. And when it breaks down, it sends warning signs you can't afford to ignore. Let's talk about that next. 3. Cardiovascular health. Your bedroom is connected to your heart. A few years ago, I had a patient named Raymond, 68, who came to me for what he called a bedroom issue. He said things had slowly been changing, not all at once, but gradually. First it was less energy, then trouble maintaining intimacy, and lately just a sense that something wasn't right. He thought maybe it was low testosterone, but when we ran some basic tests, it turned out his heart was trying to tell him something long before he ever felt chest pain. What most men don't realize is that erectile dysfunction can be one of the earliest warning signs of heart disease. The blood vessels in the penis are much smaller than those in the heart, so when blood flow starts to slow or clog, it often shows up in the bedroom first. It's not about embarrassment, it's about awareness. Your heart and your sexual health are deeply connected. When your cardiovascular system is strong, when your arteries are clear, your blood pressure is managed, and your heart is pumping efficiently, everything improves: your energy, your clarity, your physical stamina, and, yes, your intimacy. Raymond took it seriously. He changed his diet, started walking every morning, and got his blood pressure under control. A few months later, he told me he wasn't just performing better with his wife, he was laughing more, sleeping better, and feeling younger than he had in years. The body is connected in ways we often forget. Fixing one system often lifts all the others, but health isn't just about your blood or your body. There's another force at work in your life, one that can silently pull your marriage apart or slowly chip away at your joy, even if everything looks fine on the outside, and that's exactly where we're headed next. 4. Mental health, the quiet killer of the quiet killer. Intimacy. Years ago, I had a patient named Harold, a retired engineer in his early 70s. On paper, his health was fine: blood pressure under control, decent labs, no major red flags, but something was missing. He came in for what he described as low energy, but as we talked more, it became clear this wasn't just about his body. His voice got quieter as he admitted he hadn't felt like himself in months. He felt distant from his wife, even though they were in the same house. He was sleeping more, but still tired. He said, "I don't know what's wrong with me, Doc. I just feel gray." That's the thing about mental health. It rarely announces itself. It doesn't show up on a standard blood test, and most men are never taught to recognize the signs. We're raised to be strong, to push through, to not talk about what's bothering us. But emotional silence is dangerous. It eats away at connection. It chips at confidence, and over time it can turn a warm, loving marriage into quiet roommates living under the same roof. Harold wasn't broken. He was burdened. And once he started talking to a counselor, to his wife even, to me, things began to shift. He didn't need medication, just permission to let go of the pressure to say, "I'm not okay." And no, that didn't make him weak. It made him human. When a man takes care of his emotional health, everything else begins to heal. He becomes more present, more affectionate, more open. That's when real intimacy returns. Not just physical, but emotional. But healing takes more than talking. It takes connection and the ability to truly see and hear your partner again. And that starts with something deceptively simple, yet more powerful than any prescription I've ever written. Let's talk about that next 5: communication, the forgotten aphrodisiac. Not long ago, a man named Frank came to see me. He was 74, married for over 50 years. He didn't come in for anything physical. Not at first. He said he felt like he and his wife had grown apart. "We're polite," he told me, "but we don't really talk anymore. Not like we used to." His voice cracked a little when he said it. It's like we live in the same house, but not the same life. That kind of distance doesn't come from one big fight. It comes from silence, from years of letting little things go unsaid, from avoiding hard conversations, from assuming your partner already knows how you feel. But here's the truth. Nobody outgrows the need to be heard, appreciated, or loved. Out loud, communication isn't just a skill. It's the oxygen of a relationship. I've seen men who couldn't say, "I'm scared," or "I need you," slowly rediscover the power of simply checking in, asking their wife, "How are you? Really?" Or sharing, "I've been feeling off lately. I don't want to shut you out." These aren't grand gestures, but they build bridges, one word, one truth at a time. And when a man becomes emotionally available, it does something powerful. It softens the space between two people. It turns routine into romance. It brings back the small touches, the shared laughter, the feeling that you're not just surviving together, you're living together. Frank started doing something simple. He and his wife sat down every Sunday morning, phones off, TV off, just to talk. After 2 months, he told me, "We're closer now than we've been in years. I feel like I have her back." Sometimes the most intimate thing you can do isn't touch, it's listen. But staying connected takes more than good conversations. It also takes direction, a reason to get up every morning with a sense of meaning. And for many men, that's the piece they never knew they were missing. Let's explore it. Next 6: purpose, the secret ingredient to longevity. One of the most profound conversations I ever had wasn't about medicine at all. It was with a man named Leonard, 76 years old, widowed, retired, and living alone. He came to see me not for a specific illness, but because, in his words, "I just don't feel useful anymore." He had raised a family, worked hard all his life, and now every day felt like a slow drift. He told me, "I'm not sick, doc, but I'm not really living either." That's when I realized something medicine doesn't always teach us, that health isn't just about numbers, it's about purpose. When a man wakes up with nothing to look forward to, no one to serve, no mission to fuel his day, something in the spirit begins to wither. But when he feels needed, when he knows he still matters, his body responds, his energy returns, his posture lifts, even his blood pressure improves. Purpose doesn't have to be grand for some men. It's mentoring younger guys at church. For others, it's gardening, volunteering at a local shelter, helping raise grandkids, or even just being there, really being there for their spouse in ways they didn't have time to before Leonard eventually started teaching woodworking to neighborhood teens. He told me, "I didn't think I had much left to give, turns out. I've got more than I worth in thought." A man with purpose becomes a man with presence, and presence is what holds relationships, families, and health together. But finding purpose is only part of the equation to truly live well, to feel whole again. You also need the right support, the right care, and someone who understands the full picture of your health. And sadly, that's where most men fall through the cracks. Let's talk about why that happens and how to make sure it doesn't happen to you. 7 medical guidance. Stop guessing. Start healing. There's a man I'll never forget. His name was George, 69. Proud private, and like so many others, he'd waited too long. He told me he hadn't seen a doctor in nearly a decade. "I figured things would just work themselves out," he said with a shrug. But deep down, he was scared his energy was gone. Intimacy had faded, and he was waking up every night, feeling like something was missing but not knowing what to do about it. What broke my heart wasn't his symptoms. It was how long he'd been silently carrying them, thinking he had to. Too many men were raised to believe that asking for help makes them weak, that if they just tough it out long enough, the problem will pass. But here's what I've seen. Time and again, guessing costs you time. It costs you connection, and in many cases, it costs you years. You could have spent living fully the truth. Modern medicine has come a long way today. We can treat ED, low testosterone, prostate issues, fatigue, even emotional burnout, not with guesswork, but with science, compassion, and care. But only if you take that first step. A real conversation, a full checkup, a doctor who sees the whole man, not just his symptoms. George finally took that step. We worked together, body and mind, and 6 months later, he walked in smiling. "I feel like myself again," he said, and my wife noticed before I did. "You don't have to do this alone. You weren't meant to." And now that we've walked through these 7 essential factors, from your hormones to your heart, your mind to your marriage, there's one final truth I want to leave you with. It's not medical, it's personal, and it may be the most important thing I can tell you. Let's finish this journey together. Conclusion: your health is the foundation of your legacy. I've spent over 3 decades sitting across from men just like you. Strong men, proud men, men who've built lives, raised families, served their country, worked their fingers to the bone to provide. And I've seen something they all eventually face, regardless of background. The quiet question that starts to creep in with age: is this just how it ends for me? Slower, weaker, more distant, but it doesn't have to be everything we've talked about. Your testosterone, your pelvic strength, your heart, your mind, your ability to communicate your sense of purpose, and your willingness to seek real medical guidance. These aren't just medical checklists, they're pathways. They are the doors that, when opened, lead back to connection, confidence, and a marriage that doesn't just survive into your later years, it thrives. The truth is, healing isn't always loud. Sometimes it begins quietly in the courage to say, "I need help." Or in the choice to take a walk, call a doctor, hold your spouse's hand, or simply look in the mirror and say, "I still matter." I've watched men come back to life, I've watched marriages mend, and I've seen how small steps can create enormous change. Your health is not separate from your happiness. It is the foundation of everything you love and everything you've worked so hard to protect. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to start, because you're not done yet. You still have more to give, more to feel, more to live, and the people who love you. They're waiting for the best version of you to come back, and trust me, he's still in there.